Before we get started, please take the time to like, add, and subscribe to our pages on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and iTunes. Also, please leave us a review. We can wander our way over, because this is Wandering Ways.
What's Bigfoot possibility?
Blink.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another wonderful Wandering Ways episode. It is the Reverend Mark himself, myself, and with me as per usual, it's hammer time over there in good old Montana. It's our buddy, or not our, well, it is our buddy, but it's not Matt buddy. No, it is Ranger Zach. Ranger Zach, how we doing?
Fantastic, my guy. It is a good day. It is a hot day here in Billings. It was a warm one, got up to like 100. And I had like 20 some boxes of t-shirts arrive at my house today for the powwow. So getting those all squared along, and the UPS guy's just like, what the heck, my man? Like, I'm just like, yeah. And yesterday it was like 9 packages, and like a couple days before that it was another 8, just a lot. Not much more after this, so that's good on him. But just kind of getting in the groove of it, staying warm, doing the thing. I went out Beartooth. I was up in the Beartooths just the other day.
There we go. We'd love to. How are the Beartooths?
Well, I did see a bear actually in the Beartooths.
There you go.
Yeah, no, I was actually, I don't know if I told you this. I might have been telling Matt or you, but right where that campground is, right there, going up the Beartooth Pass, that right off the road, right to the right there, you gotta drive down that dirt road. Right there, ran across the highway behind me though. I saw it in my rearview mirror because like the car behind me slammed on its brakes, like almost hit it, and like this thing was just hauling across the road, and I was just like, yeah, no chance turning around and going to go see it, So it is what it is. Not mad, not upset, just saw a bear. Went fishing, caught a couple fish. Always a good time to catch a couple fish. Nothing wrong with that. Got on the kayak, got up Beartooth Lake. That's one. I don't know. There's some of those lakes up there that I think, and hikes even up there, that I think you would be down for. Just because there's some neat stuff in the Beartooths.
Yeah, no, the couple times I've been in the Beartooths, it's been pretty good, so it's been a good time, a lot of cool, it's just nice always to switch up from what you're used to. You know, I'm such a beach kid, and the more I get older, the more I realize how much of a beach kid I really am. I just love the sand, I love the salt, and I love the salt water. But it doesn't mean I don't like the mountains, because every time I go to the mountains, I'm always like, damn, these mountains, they're pretty dope. Not gonna lie. But, the mountains just aren't home. The mountains are just a hell of a time to go visit.
See, and I think that's why Oregon's good for you, because you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get the mountains and the coast, especially kind of where you've been at your kind of whole life. And it makes sense, like when we're in Iceland and we're seeing seals and stuff, you're just kind of like, yeah, whatever, see them all the time,
Yeah.
and I'm over here like, I don't see them all the time, man. And then like sometimes like I've seen you jump at elk because you're like, holy shit, or Matt really jump at elk, you Oregonians, got a lot of elk over there. And then I'm just like, they're elk.
Yeah, right. It's what you're used to,
Exactly.
when you're in these different places. So no, it's definitely a perk. It's a plus, a positive. But we're not here to talk about those type of things. I mean, we can, and we probably will a little bit, but no, today we're starting another segment, a new series per se, a new theme. I don't know. We're branching out here at the Wandering Ways podcast. We've done a lot of national parks. we love a good park. So we decided stick with our parks, but we're gonna go state parks. Um, Now, there's a lot of them out there, so we're not going to go individually through them. We may pick and choose some here and there to, really kind of deep dive in all the 50 states. We want to make sure we deep dive all 50 states, big parks or parks that we think are cool in those state parks. But we're going to go state by state. We're going to point out some cool ones, give you some facts about ones here and there. But really, this is just learning about individual states and the smaller parks that each of these states have that don't oftentimes get the big publicity, but we could argue maybe deserve it sometimes.
Well, and arguably the fact too that some of these state parks were established prior to federal parks coming into certain areas, and just how money is exchanged. Pompey's Pillar was tossed around different ownerships throughout its lifetime here in Montana. It was even privately run at one point, and now it's BLM National Monument status, right? So some of these parks change over time. They become national parks. Some of them are better than national parks because I think they fall under that state park category and they kind of get written off. I like this topic, and like you said, I think we did do a state park episode one time on Silver Falls. I want to say maybe we did one on Silver Falls. I know we did a couple on the Central Oregon. And
yeah, we did Central Oregon. I don't know if we did Silver Falls per se.
I think
I know we talked about Central.
Like OG episodes, baby days of the podcast, if it's out there.
Oh, maybe. I'll have to actually go and look, possibly, but no, we're gonna keep it in the state of Oregon. We will probably end up going a little bit alphabetical, but today we're reinventing the wheel. What's that cheesy pickup line? If I could rearrange the alphabet, I would put I and U together, and then come back to it is if I could rearrange the alphabet, I'd put F and U together. So we're putting O at the beginning. We're going Oregon. We're probably going to switch it up. Maybe we'll even do, switched up. We'll put in a G in there the next time. But Oregon's the first one we're starting with today. We're going Oregon State Parks. We'll start off with, well, I don't know which is a bigger or more popular park. I think we could debate this amongst Oregon State. There's actually three that might be up there: Multnomah Falls, Silver Falls,
that's state park, huh?
and Smith Rock.
No shit, that's a state park. Is Multnomah Falls a state park?
I'm pretty sure it's a state park.
So I'm not. So not right here, Oregonian, right? I'm kind of thrown off. I agree with you. Like I agree with what you say, and that's what I think is great that we have this podcast, because I'm looking right here at the Oregonian. They have the top 10 most visited Oregon state parks in 2021. The Valley of the Rogue State Recreation Area, 2 million visitors. Yaquina Bay.
I just want to correct something real quick. I just looked it up. Multnomah Falls is actually ran by the National Park Service.
Oh, it was. I think it wasn't though. Always.
No, it was not. I believe that's relatively recent. I mean that park has blown up so much.
Instagram.
Well, and it's right there next to Portland,
and off the interstate. The exit is in the middle of the interstate. So if you're wanting Multnomah Falls, you're in Oregon, you're checking out these state parks, you want to see Multnomah Falls, make sure you're in that left lane if you're going to Multnomah Falls to exit.
Yeah, it's a left lane exit too. So that's what's even crazier about it.
Right. And then they're redoing that highway, which will be cool, which I think there's a lot of even state parks on that highway. So Yaquina Bay 1.9 is number 2. Harris Beach State Park 1.9 is number 3. Oswald West State Park, 1.5. D River, that one makes sense there in Lincoln City, 1.3 million. Tolovana Beach, 1.2. Pilot Butte State Scenic Viewpoint, 1.2. Samuel H. Boardman's State Scenic Corridor, that makes sense there by the Cascade or the gorge.
No, the H. Boardman, I believe that one is down in like
Oh,
Brookings.
it's the south one. You're right. I'm thinking of
Yeah.
Boardman town. 1.19 is Sunset Bay State Park, 1.1. And then Fort Stevens State Park is number 10 at 1.1.
Fun fact about Fort Stevens, largest KOA is right outside Fort Stevens.
Interesting. That's good to know. I mean, KOA is not bad. We've actually had some pretty good KOA camping in the state of Oregon, too. We did that one down by Brookings.
Oh yeah, no, that was in California though. No, that was in Oregon. We did
With
it in
Tyler.
Oregon. That's right. Yeah,
Wow.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Well, I mean, Fort Stevens is the one right next to where I grew up.
Right.
Um, there's the jetty. I've ridden my bike out there. The Peter Iredale is there. It's the mouth of the Columbia.
Right.
It's a World War II base. They do the Civil War reenactments there. And then it's really, really popular for mushrooming. People go mushrooming there a lot, a lot, a lot. And it's a big state park. Like it's a lot of land.
I think you talk about that in one of the previous. You go there in one of our previous episodes when you were
Yeah,
living.
well, in the early days,
Yeah, when you were living back up
when I
there.
was living in Seaside at the time, or Astoria, Warrenton, that area, I was going there quite a bit because I was riding my bike a lot.
Right. No, and these parks, they're great parks. They're all over Oregon. You buy a little like recreation pass to go to them all, which is neat, because it's kind of easy to get for everybody, out of
Mhm.
state, in state, out of state. There's going to be the price differences. And I'm sure I can look that up here. I'll make sure to have it by the end of the podcast to see. Um, I They have a really good website, navigating their website here. There's a map. You can kind of, let's just say we're going to head towards Corvallis. You want to go see the Beavers because they're a good football team. That Utah games on a Friday night this year. You got your Salt Lake fans coming over. What they're going to do, you can set your filter 50 miles. You got Thompson Mills, Lickamute Landing, Sarah Helmick, Ella Maker, Willamette River Greenway, the state capitol in Salem. So it's kind of starting to throw some stuff. Silver Falls is saying nearby, 37 miles, and that's from Corvallis. So some really cool stuff and some really cool parks too. You talk about the coast. You're a coastie. I think Oregon. I'll let you talk about it, but the state parks are the beaches.
Yeah, the beaches, they made it state law that the beaches are public. So people used to drive, it was like highways, way back in the day. I believe it's a state park as well, but it's called Hug Point. And on the low tide, you can see where they used to drive the cars around. And it was a road where you could only do it low tide because high tide it'd be covered and you couldn't. And the cars back then are the little buggy things. But you can see it go right around kind of this rock. Which is really, we used to do field trips there. We used to do the whole Haystack Rock, Hug Point, because it's all kind of in that area. You go tide pooling, typical coasty kids shit.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense. I mean, you're at the coast, right? You're doing that stuff. Right. I think what you said, 80% of the public beaches in the United States are also these beaches, these state park beaches. So that's kind of, when you look at things the state of Oregon has done in the parks realm, that's kind of a huge victory in my sense. You look at water, you look at like Hawaii, you see the fences going out into the ocean, you see it in California. I like to compare it to Montana, where if you're in the rivers and streams, you have up to the high water mark to access. That is state, yes, owned by the state basically. Where some states don't have that, so you'll see fences going through rivers, or all sorts of stuff. So it's kind of cool that Oregon has pioneered the beaches in that sense, with those state parks.
It is. It's really cool. I mean, there's not very many places that you can just drive for miles on the beach. You're never hit private private land. Right there in Fort Stevens, actually, Fort Stevens State Park. You can drive on the beach. A lot of fun. A lot of people go surfing. They'll drive their car right there on the beach, and then they go surf actually over at Fort Stevens.
Yeah, no, I think I don't know where you took me out seaside on the beach there, and then there's that good spot, Lincoln City. You even have the dunes down by Florence that people like to do the dune buggies and light it up.
Yeah, that's really popular down there. Get the little they get the buggies, or the other thing they do a lot of is sandboarding down there. Well, they'll take like a skateboard deck and they'll go down the dunes. And it's kind of like snowboarding but on sand, essentially.
We used to, when we lived in New Mexico. I mean, this was when we were little, because this is when my grandpa and grandma lived down in Mescalero, on the Mescalero reservation. We would go to White Sands National Park and sledded down on the metal saucers. Yeah. So that's something that I just had a cousin. He was down in at Carlsbad down there, and I saw some pictures, and I was like, oh man, I need to hit some New Mexico parks. I know we talk about California possibly being like a next summer kind of adventure because it'd be easy for us. But I always want to just throw out New Mexico. But in the meantime, when we're out here in Oregon this fall and winter and stuff, I'm sure we'll be hitting some of these state parks. And one of my favorites, it climbs to the top and is Silver Falls.
Yeah, Silver Falls. That's honestly a really good park. It's a big one. It's a great one. If you pay attention on like Instagram and stuff, I'm gonna say it because we were just there, but you always see the like, who knew that there was Iceland in the United States, and it's videos of like waterfalls, and it's almost, I think it's like 9 out of 10 times the waterfalls in Silver Falls is what they have.
Right. Well, or one of the waterfalls, if it's a few of them, for sure. Because there's that one with the basalt columns that's somewhere else in Oregon that I want to go find. But no, yeah, you're right. Like the one you walk behind, and that one, honestly, like the one you walk behind there at Silver Falls, which is right there at the parking lot, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And on a hot day in the summer, that river up above isn't a bad one to swim in.
No.
But that waterfall, walking behind it, I preferred that. I prefer that every day to the Iceland one that you walked behind.
Yeah, there's two you can walk behind in Silver Falls, and there's one where the water's like right there. You can reach out and touch it. And then there's the one where you go really deep in behind it. And both are really cool. They're both unique in their own way. I'm a big fan of the one with the water like right there, because you reach from the trail, touch it type stuff. The thing that Iceland has on these waterfalls is the waterfalls in Iceland are massive.
Right. Yeah, they're huge. The one that you're reaching out, you just got to go down the trail a little further for that one. That's more part of the longer hike where you see a lot more waterfalls. And like you said, it's right there. It's really cool. And like you're saying, yeah, Iceland has just it's like a larger scale. But even the one you walked behind, I mean, it was cool. You see the pictures people take, and you could tell, like, now going there, it's almost that they're using that fisheye effect on that feel and vibe where you truly walk behind these ones at Silver Falls. And low key, this park, and I think this park is one of those older state parks just based on how it has been run. And when you see kind of the history of Silver Falls State Park, because they have that little visitor center there, which is a neat little, and it's so close to Salem, it's basically that it's been known about and dealt with. Like it could be a national monument, easy, like a Devil's Tower. I could see the national parks trying to scoop it up. And that's the thing. I think Oregon does a well job with their state parks. Montana at one point was struggling with their state parks to where they were selling them to like the BLM and national parks, for different management, funding, all that. So it's nice to see that. But I give this one, and another one I give, but I haven't even been there, is Smith Rock, and you have.
Smith Rock's a cool one. It's a lot smaller, but I mean, it's really cool hiking to the top of it. If you're a rock climber, Smith Rock is kind of your jam. There's a lot of climbing opportunities there. There's the one rock you see climbers on it all the time. It's called Monkey Face because it kind of looks like a monkey. And if you're not a climber, it's actually a lot of fun to go to Monkey Face and then watch the climbers climb Monkey Face. And you'll see them at the top of it, and it's a blast because there was, I think the last time I was there, we're like up at the top, and I set up my GoPro at the time to do like a time lapse, and you can't tell in the time lapse, but we're at people are on top of Monkey Face, and they're like screaming over to us. We're like, "Hey, it's this guy's birthday. Can you all sing happy birthday?" And so or it's like there's probably like 50 people on the side of this rock just all singing happy birthday. And it's the worst happy birthday you've ever heard because the distance and sound.
Right,
So like no one's on like the same. So it's like happy bird, happy bird. You're just
right.
like, oh God.
Like when you hear it like a stadium, that happens, when like the noise is just like it's not matching up. You're like, okay, call it quits. You
Yeah.
tried.
That's exactly what it is. That's a sensation. But no, so, I mean, Smith Rock, it's a good one to go to for the day. You go hike up to the top of Smith Rock. If you go on a clear day, you can see a lot. It's good little elevation climb too, so you feel like you really got a good workout in. So I mean, it's that one. That one, I think, if you're in Central Oregon, it's one where I think you should go check out for sure. Almost for sure, for sure.
Well, and there's a lot of parks. There's 361 to be exact in the state of Oregon, which is a lot. That's a lot
That
to manage.
is.
Because then you think about that, like there's only 11 national forests, 21 national refuges, what, one national park?
Well, if
Or is it
Multnomah Falls is ran by the Park Service,
right?
and then there's Lewis and Clark National Park, which is Fort Clatsop.
Is it a park or is it a national? Is it just run by national parks? You know what I mean?
Well, it's like a historical national park.
Because
So it still gets the national park like classification, but it's considered a historical one.
right,
So it's so you could argue that there's three national parks in Oregon, but of the ones that we all know, there's only one.
right, and that's Crater. So it's kind of interesting to think that, given that, because there are a lot of cool things, out on the coast, like the Devil's Punch Bowl.
Yeah.
You have, all the, Haystack Rock. That's another, crazy one people like. And then one place I keep seeing pictures and videos of is Eastern Oregon. So I can only imagine some of those parks out there because I look at like Eastern Montana. There's some gems of parks out there, but not a lot of people know about them because where it's located.
Eastern Oregon's going to be where you find the hidden gems for sure. There's the Painted Hills. I think it's the Painted Hills are out there. There's the John Day fossil beds. Although that I don't know if that's technically classified as Eastern. That might be still Central. And then there's those mountains. I always forget the name of them, but they're way up in the northeast
The Blue
corner.
Mountains.
I don't know if it's the blue, but they're
Matt
supposed to be like,
Ochakos. Matt's always talking about them. The Ochakos where
yeah,
they go.
Matt talks about them all the time, but they're supposed to be like the true, like best kept secret of Oregon.
Oh,
It's
I'm
supposed
sure.
to be just absolutely phenomenal, and there's just like nobody there. And if you look at where it's located, you can understand why nobody's there.
Well, and I think who's seeing it is the Tri Cities and Boise people coming, like
Yeah.
that's the adventurers there.
Yeah, those are the only people around though.
Right.
In need of LED lights for your vehicle? Look no further than our friends at Oxteo, keeping our vehicles well lit while on the road while looking for Bigfoot. Make sure to use code RUGARU, RUGARU, on your next set of LED lights. Hey there, Reverend. I heard that you might be running dry on your sticker supplier.
Yeah, I've been looking around and I've kind of like run out of cool stickers to buy and put on water bottles and stuff.
Well, I mean, have you seen the stuff Josh has been coming out with lately?
No, I have not.
Well, he is doing some really cool stuff with the Shop LS 574. Yes, they're working with indigenous communities and making some really cool stickers. He has a really cool Buffalo Mountain sticker. There's even water bottles, hats, sweatshirts, the whole swag. And we even got a discount code for you guys. Yes, if you use Wandering Ways at Shop LS 574, you're going to be getting a discount on your next purchase. But not only that, you're going to be giving a percentage of that sale to the Little Shell Tribe, as well as they donate $1 of every sale to murdered and missing Indigenous women. So just such a cool thing going on there. You know, you use the code Wandering Ways, WANDERING and you put that in there, boom, you're getting a discount. The Wild West is full of dangers, from snakes to bears. The outdoorsman must be prepared. That is why when you experience rivers like the San Juan or the Yellowstone, you must bring a blue ribbon net. Handcrafted and biodegradable, these classic wooden fishing nets are all you need while on the river. Make sure to use code RUGARU10 when checking out at Blue Ribbon Nets. Again, the code is RUGARU10. RUGARU10.
So the mountains up there in northeast Oregon, we're talking the Wallowas. We couldn't remember the name Wallowas. Actually had a coworker of mine. He recently just actually got back from the Wallowas.
Oh, really?
Talked it up exactly like how Matt talks it up. It's everything he says there. Um, and no one goes there. He went during rodeo weekend in that area, like biggest, most packed time that area probably sees in the year. And he's like, there's nobody there. And he's a big fisher. And he's like, the rivers were clear.
Nice. I want to ask you a question real quick. Do you think you will have the time? And I'm thinking like maybe springtime next year to take a weekend and do like an Eastern Oregon trip, because the more and more I'm looking at just kind of places to go. I've seen some gems pop up on that like Oregon Idaho border, kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and there are some gems there because what is it? Hell's Canyon.
Yep. And then I saw there was like some waterfall trail, and then there was another trail thing, and I was like,
Yeah.
that would be kind of cool to just do, because that's a part of the state of Oregon that I haven't done, and that there is out there, and like you said, like this place up in the northeast corner is, it's remote, and it's arguably where the Rocky Mountains come into the state of Oregon. And it's
Yeah.
cool.
Hell's Canyon, I think, would be really, really cool. It's actually the deepest canyon in the U.S. Oddly enough. And the men's soccer coach that is at SOU, he's almost died in Hell's Canyon. He was telling me a story about him and a guy, they got lost and like ran out of food and water for like a weekend, and like they were severely dehydrated, no food. had to find shelter. Like it was, as he put, he's like, yeah, I almost died.
Been there.
Yeah, which is that's wild. But yeah, no, tons of cool shit out there. Would love to. Hopefully, I don't know what my time in the future looks like. But going back to the cool shit part, it's time for cool shit in nature. Uh always always a fan favorite,
It
or
is.
maybe just a Mark favorite.
It's a favorite.
But
There's some cool stuff out there, man.
there's lots of cool shit. First one is a close encounter with a blue whale. With how close they get to this would be absolutely wild to experience.
I love that, like blue whales, when you look at them, because they are so big and they just the
That's
like
a small one too.
right, it is, but like the color of it, like whenever
Mhm.
whenever I've seen footage of it, they look like CGI. That's how cool blue whales look to me. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, I knew exactly what you mean.
Like their
Uh,
gloss or that whatever their skin just has that. And you can see blue whales. They move up and down the Pacific out there in Oregon, and all the Oregon beaches are state parks.
yeah, you can technically. It's pretty tough to see a blue whale on Oregon. The best place to go, and actually I know this because I had a roommate from Humboldt. She went whale watching. Actually, I think Newport, which is where this is videos taken, and saw a blue whale while
Newport,
out whale watching.
California.
Yeah, right there, LA, Newport Beach. So which that would be holy cats. Seeing one and I drilled her with a million questions. It was like how impressive was the size of them. So and she was like, they're pretty sweet.
That's
We're
cool.
sticking with the whale
Oh yeah.
theme. Oregon State Parks, whales, it's kind of in the beaches, whales, that's kind of the thing. So sticking with it. This one would be scary as shit. For the people
It
just listening,
upsets me.
why?
It upsets me because you got this whale, you got all these boats parked there, which they're all probably watching the whales, right? In this area. And this whale belly flops onto a 19-foot boat and just like sends the boat bucking. And
Yeah,
that's got to hurt.
yeah,
Like right
yeah.
on your fucking
The thing
snout.
is, and I'm going to come to the boat's defense, and it's just because I can't quite tell, but it kind of looks like it's anchored there.
They all look anchored, yes. Because yeah, the rope's down right there. But when you look at the whale here, he's not doing like a back flop like they typically do, right? Like the humpback whales you
Mhm.
see. He is belly flopping onto this thing. He is slamming his body down. Look at that. Like he throws his neck down there. Like he goes straight up and then bends it, boat. Like he knows what he's doing, almost as if he's pissed off.
Yeah. Which may be, I mean, we're just seeing this one little clip of it. So it's like we don't know the full story. We don't know. Could have been just random. Could have been sparked by something. I love the first comment you see next to it. I hope that baby is okay.
What baby?
I'm assuming the whale is what they mean by baby.
Right. I mean, I do too, man. That's gotta hurt. Like me and Colton this last weekend went fishing up at Sealy, right? And we caught some pike. And one of the pike had like the mouth print, on it. And when you look at our sea critters, they have that from other sea critters, but what we also have a lot of is damage from boats, propellers, and that is something to be mindful of. We are invasive in these places. I was even thinking about like some of the tour boats in places. It's nice when it's regulated in areas, where you can regulate the harm and the damage, and rather than like, because that one kind of looked like, and that's the interesting thing with the ocean is it's like kind of open to everybody. So it's like you can all gather up and set anchor there, and that's where the whales come and feed because it's a cliff in the ocean or whatever it may be. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
and then they do belly flops and get scars and get hurt, and then that leads to orcas attacking people. Like there's a whole chain, man.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, that is an interesting topic of in itself. The
Well,
whales. I call it the whale revolution. I've dubbed it that. And again, I've said this on the podcast before, but I just want to make sure that this is out there. Killer whales, orcas, I'm on your side.
yep.
So if you see me out there, don't worry. I'll shoot you a peace sign. Just be like, yo, this guy's chill. Let me be. I'm fighting for you out there, orcas.
No, that's fair, man. That is totally fair. I agree. I think the whale, it's interesting. And like we like to value our brains in society. And we understand that that's our thinking, but when you look at whales, man, like talk about size of brains.
Yeah, whales are really interesting. They're way cooler than I think people give them credit for.
I think they're way
Um,
smarter.
well, yeah, no, they definitely are. And that is again in and of itself, I think a different conversation to have because and
I don't
maybe
know.
even outside the scope of this podcast, because that's starting to ask about, we talk as humans, we only really, really empathize with things that communicate like we do and
Yeah.
things we can understand and communicate with. And this goes at an even smaller level. You can see this when you talk to people from other countries, right? You see the hate that people have towards other people because they speak a different language. They look a little bit different. It's the same. It's realistically, it's the same idea, right? They look different, they communicate different. These are just, whales are just way different than we are because they swim, they don't have feet, they don't have hands, they have fins, they have a blowhole.
Yeah, no, but they're smart. I know they're smart. And you talking Oregon State Parks, man. I know it's not necessarily a state park, but it's state funded. Oregon State Marine Hatfield Center there in Newport, Oregon, actually does a lot of whale studies and has a lot of whale stuff. They do a lot of things at the ocean. Oregon State University as well does a lot of marine biology and the marine research. So that is, I mean, it's a very important university and institution when it comes to like our natural ecosystem. Fuck, it's like nationally ranked. And when you take public universities, not a lot of public universities are nationally ranked, and they're in the education departments, and they are. And a lot of it is thanks to these programs and these state parks and these things that have been established by the state of Oregon. Which is cool. You look at like the parks, you look at these hidden gems, you look at some of these like places. I mean, I'm sure you take some for granted because you grew up there. I do that here in Montana. And when we talk about Montana, like that's going to come up, because that is my backyard. That is your backyard in that sense. And, but we still feel that duty when we're in these places to take care of them because it is our backyard. So it's kind of cool. And it's really cool what the state of Oregon has done. And I don't know if, the beaches, just the fact that those alone, the 90%, 80% of all public beaches in the US, come from the state of Oregon.
Yeah, that's a wild stat to think of when you really think of it. Because, like,
That's Alaska,
one,
Hawaii, Florida, California, Washington, New York. Think of these big coasts, Carolinas.
yeah, that's what's wild is, um, and to be fair, that stat actually may be just lower 48. I don't know if it includes Hawaii and Alaska, because I'm willing to bet Alaska has a lot of public access to beaches.
Well, especially because
Uh,
of the tribal sovereignties too, but maybe it's classified as tribal even because of the
yeah,
corporations.
that could be as well.
But that's some of those things, right? Where even though like the tribes, and they might allow non-natives, right, to do it because it's Alaska, where like you take it'd be kind of cool to look that up and understand. But we're focused on Oregon. One day we'll talk about Alaska and their state parks, but not today. But when you hear that stat or however it's said, it's cool because I mean, I saw an Instagram today. Someone's going down to the sand dunes there in Florence, and you could do the dune thing. Like you can go do the sea pool looking. You can go see the Devil's Punch Bowl. There's a
Yeah,
lot.
there is. And that's what's beautiful about the state park or the beaches. I mean, that's why Seaside, where I grew up, is so popular for the 4th of July's because you can drive on the beach, you can set up like a little camp for the day, and you can stay and basically just have like a little section for the whole day of 4th of July. They've really cracked down on the fireworks as of the last few years, but people used to go wild with the fireworks because technically in Oregon you can't have the ones that shoot up in the air for fire reasons. And if
Right.
you remember the Gorge fire a few years ago, you understand why fireworks are kind of a crappy deal. But speaking of the Gorge is another place full of a ton of state parks with a lot of cool. Um, there by the Dalles.
No. Yep.
There's one I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head. It's like Eagle, um, Eagle like Trail
Is
or
it up? I Is that up by John Day? Is what you're saying?
no, I don't think it's as far. I think it's
But
closer to Multnomah Falls than it is the Dalles.
I mean, you got quite a bit of state parks on the gorge, like you're saying. And I'm looking at right now, OregonLive.com, they have a top ranking top 20. You have like the Viento State Park near Cascade Locks. You have the Cottonwood Canyon, which is kind of by the John Day River off the Columbia Gorge. Um, I'm sure if I went to the Oregon State Parks page, which I am on, um, I can find a park because it said Eagle, and I'm sure I think I know what you're talking about because I was there in January, February. I was driving out there to visit my family, and when you drive the Columbia Gorge on in February, there I saw like 50 bald eagles all
Oh,
in
the
this one area.
gorge there's a ton there now.
Yeah, I love it.
I do too. It's crazy. And I think, oftentimes a lot of times think of the negative that has happened with like human impact but like when we step in to make changes, like the bald eagle is a fantastic positive. Because it was, growing up, I remember it was tough to see a bald eagle. So when you saw a bald eagle, it was like a big deal. It was like stop the car and pull over type deal. And now you go to the right spot, you'll see like five, six of them.
No, it's awesome to see. It is because it is the story, and I think the Yellowstone, the Fishing Bridge Visitor Center, actually has a very good documentation of kind of that in the journey. Um, I like it. Oregon has a lot of bald eagles. They have a
Yeah.
lot of seagulls as well. And they have a lot of rain if you're not there quite. Like I like to go out in August when there's not a lot of rain, but it's pretty much rainy October through April.
It is. It rains a lot, but that's that's ultimately, why it's so green in the area too, is because the amount of rain.
And you have the lush forests, that's something that you do get to see. Mount Hood has a lot of recreation areas as well, beyond state parks. You do
Yeah, I mean,
need.
if we went outside state parks, like talking national forests, you can get to the Three Sisters Wilderness. You can get to not just Three Sisters, but out there, by Jefferson. Um, I think there's a Willamette State or National Forest, which touches the Three Sisters. Deschutes National Forests. There Mount Hood. Mount Hood's really cool. There's tons of stuff up there. There's Ramona Falls, which I've been to, which is very, very very cool. think it's Hidden Lake is the one you see a ton of pictures for. It's not that hidden. Um,
Same with
overlooks Mount Hood. Trying to think what else over there. I mean, Timberline, if you're a skier, that's where it's at. That actually might have a historical designation as well, Timberline.
I'm sure there's a lot, like when you look at Oregon and even Montana here, the history, they like to designate a lot of stuff.
They
Because
designated left and right.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Uh,
it is.
I mean, everything's history in that sense. Even this podcast will be history.
Yeah.
But I'm looking right now at the Oregon State Park website. It's a really nice website. You can find a park based on what parts of Oregon you're going to. You could do it on like towns, cities, areas. You could reserve cabins and yurts. They have first serve camping. They talk about the permits, which I do know you need a permit. I'm looking at the frequently asked questions. They have some good kind of questions. They have different subjects. The general, like when can I visit a park? Where can I swim? Talking to me about camping. What's the rules about noise? Can I bring certain vehicles? Can I collect plants or what's allowed? You can bring drones.
Oh,
Unless
I'm
it's
sure you can bring drones.
kind of like Iceland in the sense. Same with Montana, where it just says like no drones, don't use it. Like, and it makes sense. They're usually in the crowded areas. Um, in the non-crowded areas, feel free. I like that. Maybe Wandering Ways should get out there and do that.
Yeah.
And they got all those I like. They got a good about us as well because they're kind of neat. Mission of the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department is to provide and protect outstanding natural, scenic, cultural, historic, and recreational sites for the enjoyment and education of future and present generations. They care. I mean, they do. They put it forth. And if you go to State Fair, they have a little thing there. The state parks too.
Oh, at the state fair there in Salem.
Yeah, you can go to the thing and see it.
I yeah, no, Oregon does a good job with their parks. That's for sure. Uh, and to be fair, I haven't been to a lot of other states to experience their state parks. Maybe they do just as equally good of a job. Not totally sure. So I don't want to crown Oregon the champion of state parks. So
I don't know. I think Montana would give it a run for its money.
I don't know. I'd be willing to bet maybe like in Alaska or there's who knows, like maybe even like maybe Washington does a better job. I
Was it
haven't really been.
Hawaii? Isn't Hawaii the beaches there also state land? And that's why the Hawaiians are like living on the beach because they're like, "Fuck you! You took our land, but we're still gonna live on it."
They might.
Um,
So
but
I
that might
can't
be
remember.
different than state park. You know what I mean? Like state land versus
Yeah.
state park. Which
Well,
that's
yeah,
its
that
own
is.
conversation itself. Which is for a different podcast. But when we talk Oregon state parks, man, I get what you're saying, but I also think too there's parks you've been to that you probably didn't know are state parks because a lot of times, like, yes, state parks do have a ticket booth or an entrance fee or that, or you need the pass, but really those are required at the more popular ones or the ones you go to. Because I mean, Oregon, I know you have to have the thing in your car, but the state of Montana, all you need is a license plate. So if you
Yeah.
register your vehicle to the state of Montana and you're driving into the park, you're good. But if you're not and you're like biking in or hiking in, it's usually free. You know what I mean? Kind of like the national
Yeah.
parks in that sense.
No, 100%. Just to make sure that we have enough time to hit this, if you're from Oregon, you've probably heard of the Seven Wonders of Oregon. It's a big deal. Um, I personally have been to almost all of these, if I'm being completely honest. But most of them are state parks. Most of these are state parks that you can go to. There's one that is not a state park, and Ironically, it's a national park, Crater Lake. So that's not part of it. But the other ones, the Columbia River Gorge,
Yep.
state parks. The Painted Hills, we talked about it, state parks. Oregon Coast, state parks. The Wallowas, we talked about, state park out there. Smith Rock, state park. So they're all kind of state park-esque to where if you come out, check these state parks out, and you're going to hit quite a few of the old Seven Wonders. Mount Hood is another one of the Seven Wonders, which again is full of state parks.
But see, like, I even like that Wilsonville Drive to my parents' house, as well as the like other like roads there that go along the Willamette River have the like boat ramps that all say state parks. So the pullouts that stay state parks too, right on the water, giving access to the waterways,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You see a lot of those. And then I'm sure, we probably asked Matt Buddy alone. He probably knows a lot of the state parks down there at the southern end of the state because they did a lot of camping and stuff growing up. And I'm sure, state parks, people forget, we talk a lot about national parks, but like, you don't need to be in Glacier to have a good time. You can go to a salmon lake.
Yeah.
And camp in the campground and have just as good of a time. I'm looking here. Fun facts. If you're ever at trivia night, folks, these might be facts that come up. This is from Oregon.gov about their parks. Visitors to Oregon State Parks in 2016 contributed $1.1 billion to the state's economy and supported 16,000 full-time and part-time jobs. Oregon state parks are among the most popular in the United States. Their combined day use and camping attendance of 54,421,472 visitors in 2017 to 2018 consistently ranks the system among the most 10 visited in the nation.
Oh, I believe it. Makes a lot of sense. So no, ton of great ones. We obviously didn't touch all of them.
There's like a lot.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's why we don't touch all of them because there's so dang many, and we didn't even really touch a whole lot of the South. I know we touched one on the coast there. Was it H. Boardman? It's right there by Brookings.
Well, I know there's that one on the what's that, Rogue River down there?
There's some down there. The Redwoods, I think, in Oregon. I think those are technically in the state park as well.
Where are you training in a lake? Aren't you training in a lake somewhere in Ashland down there in the state park?
They might be county parks. I have to see the sign.
National Forest, maybe.
Yeah, it could be. So I'm not 100% sure on that one, but that is another time and another place because we are hitting that time limit. So that means it's time for the final words. So, final words, my guy.
Guys, if you're watching the YouTube or the Spotify, you may have noticed we're wearing different attire.
Actually, I want to, before you finish, I'm actually wearing the same attire. The only thing you notice is my beard is longer and my hair is longer. That's about it. I'm actually wearing the same attire. I looked at it. So I'm wearing the same one. Thank you.
Well, we had a mess up. We ended up recording the second half of this podcast on a different date. If you have any questions about Oregon State Parks, definitely check out the Oregon State Parks website or go ahead and email us at wanderingwayspodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you and talk about whatever you may want to talk about. Shit, maybe you have a top 5 Yellowstone, top 5 things you want to share. We'll read it off here on the podcast. So definitely excited to say that. Not really much. Go out and go seek adventure. I'm going to try and get in the water or get out somewhere this weekend, paddle that up in the kayak, get it going. So love it, love it, love it.
Reverend's final words of wisdom. Stay beautiful, everybody. Can't tell you how much I appreciate every single one of you for listening all the way through, doing all that fun stuff. Thoughts right off the get-go. Pray for Maui. They're on fire right now. Hawaii's in a lot of it's toasty over there. So if you can help them out, at least have your thoughts, first, especially the wildfires and the first responders and anyone that may have lost their home in that, because that's truly sad. You know, lower 48, we're not unfamiliar to wildfires. So we know how devastating it can be. Uh, it's an island, small island. So only imagine how much more it could be worse over there. So, really think about them. But with that being said, peace out, everybody.
Bye.